our participants kind of leveling off here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first off, my name is Angie Andreessen. I'm a business analyst here at DLI working on the Workers' Compensation Modernization Program. I believe that I've had the pleasure of interacting with many of you before, but if not, hello. So today we are going to run through Campus, answer our questions and a demo really quickly for some of the specific group admin questions that are received related to TPAs, insurers, and self-insurers and trading partners. So as always, this meeting will be recorded. We'll get that recording up on our website afterwards. I did go ahead and just mute everybody and disable the video just because we do have a number of people on this call. If you need to unmute yourself for some reason, feel free to do so, and then just mute yourself as soon as you're done speaking if you need to speak. Preference for questions and comments is going to be the chat, just so we can kind of keep a running log of what you all are experiencing or any questions that you have so we can add those to FAQs. Chances are if you have that question, someone else has the question as well. So if we can have as many questions in the chat as you all have, please feel free to just kind of direct them to that area. So with that, I will go ahead and just hop right into the content. So we're going to structure this exactly the same as it has been in the previous group admin 30-minute answer hours. I'm going to run through some of the frequently asked questions that we are receiving from a lot of you all or folks who are working in your industry. I'll be doing the QA. This is a little misleading, but I'll be doing the QA throughout. So if you have questions, please feel free to just put those in the chat at any point. No need to wait for that QA slide. And then I'll run through demos as necessary with both the frequently asked questions and then any questions that you all bring up throughout the hour. Something we had to keep in mind as we're going through this, we're still kind of trying to figure out the cadence and the scheduling for these particular answer hours. So specifically for the group administrator answer hours for insurers. If this is something that you all want to keep separate in its own little 30-minute block, or if it's something that we kind of want to fold into our larger insurer answer hour that we have on a biweekly basis. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we're running through these questions and the slides here, and feel free to provide any feedback on that as we go through. I will prompt you all and remind you all to provide that feedback towards the end of the call as well. So with that, I'm just going to hop right into the frequently asked questions. The first one here is one that we're seeing less and less of, which is great. So some people are still having issues where a user in their group is still showing up as pending. In that instance, there's a few things that I would recommend checking on before you panic. So first off, if they're still showing up as pending, make sure that the email address in the invitation matches whatever they registered with in Campus. I know I've seen a few examples where people have for some reason made a mistake with their registration and aren't able to access Campus to change it or need to update their email address. So I wanted to just kind of demo how they could do that. So first off, what you're likely going to need to do is have that user contact the help desk and let them know that they made a mistake. Let them know that there was a mistake that was made for some reason with the email address entry. We can usually unlock that account on our end so that the user can go ahead and log into the account, since they wouldn't be able to confirm the email on their end. Then what that user is going to want to do is they're just going to want to go ahead and click on their name in Campus, click Edit Profile, and they can just update their email address. Oh, and I apologize, I got logged in. They can just update their email address right there, and that will just change their settings for that email address. So what changing the email address on that page would do for that user is actually just go ahead and update it for them. It would change their login information, and then it would also change where anything that's associated with that email address is associating. It would associate to the new email address rather than the registered email address. Something else to just kind of keep in mind with that, make sure that if someone is impending that they have actually registered for campus as well. I know I've seen a few people who still have some users who just haven't quite gotten around to registering. I would recommend just kind of prompting them to register. The invitations can be resent within the group management area as well. So I can run through that a little bit later. And then finally, if you've exhausted all those options, you know that they're registered, you know that their email address is correct and it's matching what was in the invitation, please just send a message to the help desk. We can create a ticket and have somebody research that and hopefully figure out what the issue is. All right, the next question, how do I change permissions for users? So I know I've run through this a few different times before in answer hours. And essentially all you have to do is go to your page, go to the group page, and just go ahead and update those permissions for each user. And I apologize, I think we may be running a build in the test system right now, so I may not be able to demo that, but I'm certainly going to make an attempt here. So in this instance, what you would do is go into my groups. You're going to want to select the group that you need to make changes to. So in this instance, I'm going to select Up North Insurance and Manage Group. And it's going to pull all of my people. So you can see I've got Angela Adjuster, James Attorney, all these different users. If I need to edit their permissions, I can just go ahead and add or remove these permissions. Now, the next question I had on there was, what do each of these permissions mean? So the group admin permission, obviously you all are familiar with that. You're kind of the gatekeeper for your organization's account. You let people in, you delete people when it's appropriate, and then you can just adjust permissions for others within your group. The service or process designee, obviously just the person or people who are going to receive service on behalf of your entities. Same for the designated contact for information requests and penalties and assessments. So just for those applicable things, it would be the person or people who you're designating to receive that communication from us. I'm going to come back to the profile management designee. The claim access administrator is the person who can manually add or remove adjusters to files. I have a very exciting update on that once we get back into the slides that many of you may have seen in one of our recent Gov delivery bulletins, but I'll keep you in suspense for a minute for those of you who haven't. And then our global claim access is just a permission that allows all of the users within your group to view claims for entities with which they are associated. So most of you are going to want your adjusters to have that global claim access so that they can see any claims that are related to your organization. Coming back to the profile management designee, this is going to be the person or people who is dealing with the changes that need to be made to your group. So I'm just going to go ahead and give an example of that. So I'm going to go back into my group, and I'm actually going to click on the test TPA. And I'm a profile management designee. So what I can do here is I can edit our name, and then I could also add addresses if necessary. So what happens with that is those actually go through us as to kind of review and process them and approve them. So if you have submitted any of these updates, please hold tight. It's likely that they just haven't been processed quite yet. If you have questions about those or you want to make sure that you have submitted the correct update, you can always send an email to the help desk. We can look in the queues. But if you have already submitted one of these, I would recommend not submitting it again, just because it just creates additional things for us to run through. So if you've already submitted it, just be patient. We are kind of working through those. I'll hopping back into my slides here. I think we touched base on the dashboard. If your dashboard looks different than the dashboard that I was just showing in Canvas, that typically means that you are in a trading partner group. So if you're in a trading partner group, it's always going to show your trading partner dashboard. It's going to have those graphs and those metrics rather than just that simple My Claims queue. I think we've hit on how the permission should be allocated, but I'm going to touch base on the My Claims queue. So, exciting development on this. We are pushing a release at the end of the month, and this is related to a lot of the EDI things that we've been noticing, or defects that we've been noticing throughout the system. One of the things that we are going to be adding functionality for as part of that release is an automatic assignment to claim adjusters for claims. So they won't need to be manually assigned again or anymore. They should just be able to be automatically assigned. Now, obviously, there are just going to be some caveats with that. When you're submitting your EDI transactions, you're going to want to make sure that the adjuster is part of this group that is listed as either the insurer or claim administrator on that EDI filing. And then you're going to want to make sure that the email address that you provide in your EDI transaction for that user matches their campus profile email. So essentially what that's going to do, that's going to take out the legwork from having to manually assign those claims. It's just going to go ahead and populate that My Claims queue as those files come in. So if there are any questions on that, please feel free to put those in the chat. I know that was something that we heard loud and clear from a number of you, that you wanted us to be automatically assigned. So we're very excited that we were able to bring that into scope. Now, as far as the other EDI items that were listed in that email, I will be covering those a little bit more in depth in our EDI and eForm answer hours tomorrow. If there are any specific questions about those, please feel free to bring those to those answer hours tomorrow. I will go ahead and plan to kind of go more in depth tomorrow with those. And then the final one, just my company operates as an insurer and a TPA. Do we need to have multiple groups? So I've mentioned this before, and as you saw in my test system, yes, you would want to have separate groups for your insurer entity and your TPA entity, just because there are going to be some instances where you need to be associated one way and maybe don't need to be associated the other. So if you have a TPA product and an insurer product, you are going to want to have separate groups for those. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our Campus Central page. I'm just going to hit on this really quickly before I hop into the questions. So here's our Campus Central page. As I've mentioned before, this is just kind of going to be where we post those email updates and additional updates if for some reason you don't get those emails. So you can see our last release was January 8th. Our release notes are posted here. We had a few topics that came up. So this one specifically, these EI updates may be pertinent to this group. That's also going to impact the eForm submitters. So just some good places to look. We've got our FAQs and our quick reference guides up here as well, and then the campus login link. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking some questions. All right. So the first question, it looks like, is EDI related, that some people are waiting for acknowledgements. We did have an issue that was brought to my attention where some of the files were stuck. So those should be processing now, I believe. But if for some reason you don't have those acknowledgements later today or tomorrow, please reach out to us and let us know. Adjusters are receiving emails about an attorney filing, and the adjuster does not want to receive those emails. Which permission should I remove to stop those emails? So I would recommend just checking to make sure that your adjusters do not have the service of process designee permission. If they have a service of process designee, chances are that when your entity is being served, it's just checking their email address as well, and it's sending it to them. So I would just recommend going through and making sure that you have that permission allocated correctly. Any update on when penalties will be reinstated? So I apologize, I don't really have the authority to speak to that. That's not really my department, but I can forward that to our leadership and the compliance department and see if we can get some sort of update. When I go in and manage my permissions on one of the insurer names under my group, the screen navigation is not letting me scroll all the way up to the top of the page to click on the dashboard link. Do other users have this issue, and what is the best way to get to the dashboard when we can't reach the top of the page to click on the link? Lynette, if you could take a screenshot and send that to our help desk so that we can take a look at that and see what's happening. I've not heard any other report on that. Next question, will the adjuster assignment go back on all claims already in campus? That's a really good question. I will double check and see if we're planning on reassociating those. My understanding is that they will update on specific EDI transactions. So I can get some clarification on whether or not that would apply to claims that have already been filed in campus. We're having a lot of trouble entering shore URs on legacy claims as far as errors. So if you could just send a list of the claims where you're having issues to myself and copy the EDI team, we can take a look at those. It's possible that there just may be some data that's catching in an odd way. With the new claims assigned, will this just be the new claims reported or all of the claims we have as an adjuster? So again, I'm gonna follow up and see if that is going to be a data thing that we do on our end. For claims that have benefits suspended and we now have received a healthcare provider report, can we have our TPA download the healthcare provider report to campus rather than submitting a SURE UR? And SURE UR just to have the claim available in campus? I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding that question, but oh, let me see. The employee cannot be found in campus under the insurer, but it is on the trading partner. So I would have to defer to compliance for that answer as well, but I believe that that should be fine if you want to have somebody else upload the document. Will more options be uploaded under other filings for situations that don't fit the fields available? For example, when notifying the individual or the injured worker about a TTD cap, we generally would copy Dolly and are encouraged to do so by our attorney. There's no option that seems to fit. Recommendations for those miscellaneous situations. So what I would recommend for that specific situation is using the correspondence categories. If there are specific document categories that people would like, we can certainly take that into consideration to add in the future. Sounds like someone is having an error with the claim numbers, indicating that the claim number is not accepting. Sean, if you could send an example of that to the EDI team and copy myself. If we remove process of designee from adjuster permissions, will the adjuster still see the filings under notifications on their campus dashboard if that claim is assigned to the person in campus? I don't believe that they would necessarily still get all of those notifications. It may indicate that there is a new document associated with their file. All right. I think I'm at the end of the questions here for right now. So if there are any other questions, please feel free to pop those in the chat. And finally, as I mentioned at the beginning of the answer hour, This answer hour is specifically going to be for group admin questions. I see we're getting a lot of general questions in this one. So I would recommend kind of saving those for those general answer hours if at all possible so everybody can hear them. As far as group admin specific answer hours where we're dealing with group admin specific questions, would you all like to continue these? Would you like to kind of roll them into the other answer hours that we have for these groups? What kind of frequency would you like to see for these? And Meredith, I see your question. I did forward that over to my compliance department regarding finals for claims that are denied. I will circle up with them or see if we can possibly get a correspondence out on that. And Ashley, you mentioned you're not seeing a correspondence option. I would just recommend for the time being just to pick whatever document you think is most applicable. You can always put a description, a free form description in the document description field, which would help us as well. How do you delete contact addresses for the insurer that are no longer valid? So in that instance, you should be able to remove those on the page if you are a profile management designee. If for some reason you're not able to remove them, like if it's not an option, please just send those our way. We can put a ticket in for those and see if we can get them removed or updated in the database. How long does it take for payments reported to show up in campus? E.g. if we paid an award on SIP. So if those payments are reported on a PY transaction, they would show up as soon as that PY transaction is accepted in campus. And I'm seeing some feedback here for monthly admin answer hour meetings. So I will plan to kind of keep that cadence, these 30-minute hours specifically for admin questions. We can plan to keep the other answer hours as needed, but we'll definitely try and keep these a little bit more focused to the group admin questions. All right. So it looks like the chat has slowed down, and it looks like we've got about 7 minutes here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this a little bit early. As I mentioned, in those instances where you're seeing those issues, please feel free to send those our way. We can take a look, or we can definitely, our help desk team can definitely get those to the correct people, get tickets created and assign them to the correct people as well. I will plan to set up another one of these in a month or so. And also just a quick reminder for those of you who are e-form submitters and for EDI submitters, we do have those answer hours tomorrow. So those are, let me just get the times up here. Our e-form answer hour is going to be from 10 to 11. Our EDI answer hour is from 1 to 2. So please feel free to attend those and forward those to anyone else in your organization who may benefit from attending. Thank you all so much for your participation today. It's always so great to get your questions and your feedback. I will talk to you all, most of you likely tomorrow in our EDI and e-form answer hours. Otherwise, the following week in our insurer trading partner TPA answer hours, or in a month when we do this answer hour again. Thanks, everybody.